6 months, roughly 180 days. Where are we in terms of resettling the internally displaced? What have we gained in terms of reconciliation and moving forward as a multicultural society? What about economic achievements and developments in former conflict zones? Shifan spoke with Dr. Kumar Rupesinghe, civil society leader and head of the Foundation for Coexistence, to find out his views on this critical post-war period.
It's 6 months after the war was won, and the country is certainly better off without it. But what about winning the peace?
At a meeting in Temple Trees, the president had invited...
When was this?
About 6 months ago, immediately after the war. The president invited civil society leaders and talked to them. And at that meeting I said, Your Excellency, you have won the war. I hope you can win the peace. And I then went on to clarify what I meant by that. I said, winning the peace requires a different mindset to winning a war. It means to promote coexistence, to reduce the polarization in society, to ensure that all communities live in coexistence and harmony, to ensure that we win over the hearts and minds of a people who have been besieged by the war, to heal the wounded, not only the physical healed, but also the mentally wounded. There's a whole new challenge which awaits the country. That was the message I gave to the president.
And what was the response you got from His Excellency?
Well, His Excellency did acknowledge, and those who were with him certainly said that they agreed with me. But I must say that since then, when we look at what has happened, I'm very disappointed. I think we have lost the opportunity that came before us. For example, we had 300,000 Tamils who were held hostage by the LTT. And they are our citizens. They are our people. And many didn't have the freedom of movement. There was a lot of problems. I don't think that's the way to handle problems. That could have been handled better. We could have had a plan, and we could have tried to win the hearts and minds of a besieged people.
There was originally a 180-day program which later turned out, it wasn't going to work out that way.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's 180 days has passed. And our political representatives were not allowed to go into the camps and talk to their voters. There was a whole lot of issues. I think starting with that, and secondly, since that time, we have had one political war after the other, provincial council elections, which continues to polarize our people on political divisions. Quite unnecessary. And the colossal expenses. And division, and division, and division.
Now, when you say political divisions, Dr. Rupesinghe, are you saying that the political process or the political will has been lacking for the past 6 months to carry the country forward?
Yeah, I think that basically somewhere down the line, we lost the plot. I think we can regain that and reach out to the other, reach out to the opposition, reach out to all these parties, bring them all together, consult them continuously, work out a process of dialogue, because there's space for everybody to rebuild this country. And we need everybody. We need the people in the country, we need the diaspora, we need a lot of people to come. We can't sort of do it on your own. It must be all political parties must contribute in the reconstruction process. That is how Europe was built. That is how South Africa is being built.
And early on, we were talking about reconciliation and peace building. Now, reconciliation is one important aspect of peace building. And how important do you think that the divide between the North and South be addressed? What would you suggest be done at this point?
I think that, we have to look at experiences of truth commissions which were established in many countries after a war. South Africa had a truth commission, Guatemala, El Salvador. That is one way to go, to reflect together on what went wrong. But we can go back to our own religions. We can go back to Buddhism. We can ask the question, how do we move within our religious traditions towards the other? How do we move towards reconciliation? That is the great king Dharmashoka. We have great examples from our own religions of how these kings gave up armies, rebuilt the Dharmadvipa of India, who built temples, hospitals. So many examples are there in our own civilization, which we have to take up.
All right.
Okay.
And let's talk about the international community. Do you feel they need to be involved in this rebuilding and reconstruction process, and how?
Yeah, the impulse must come from within ourselves primarily. We need to want to change. We need to want reconciliation. We need to reach out to the other. Once we do that, I am sure the international community will be there to support us, provide enormous amount of support. But at the same time, we can't polarize our relationships with the international community. Our markets depend on the
GSP Plus, for instance.
Exactly. Or the GSP Plus is one example. We are a small country. I'm not saying that we should give in to the Western powers, but there is no point antagonizing the Western. I have already said that in an interview. We have a toxic foreign policy. I think we must go outside that and seek friendships, not with one bloc, but with all blocs, in a truly non-aligned policy for this era.
And finally, Doctor, you said that we must look within ourselves for a solution. What can people, what can individuals do to change Sri Lanka, to work towards that lasting peace we all want?
I think most of our ordinary people are decent. I think they are always in coexistence, in the marketplace, in the temple, in the churches. But it is not the ordinary people. It is the politicians who have divided our people. Okay. But if it comes to the ordinary people, then their role is to basically educate themselves and their children about the spiritual heritage of our country. And I think that now we have to start revisiting. There's too much of violence in this country, too much of violence on television, too much of violence against children and women. So we have to...
And what about the militarization as well?
And the militarization, all these things. So for that we need to really revisit our spiritual heritage, not pay lip service to spirituality, but to really begin to grapple with the spiritual dimension, which is in all our religions. So that again, I don't think is really taken seriously in this country.